Some nightmares don't wait for sleep. Some nightmares walk, breathe, speak, and they stare back at you with hollow eyes and swear they died weeks ago. Sup, creeps, and welcome back. I'm Noelle, your host and resident weirdo Wisconsinite of Creepy Confidential, a podcast delving into the mysterious realms of cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and other worldly creepy. Tonight, we travel into a realm of the human mind, a syndrome so strange, so unsettling, that even the people who suffer from it insist on something almost impossible. They say they're already dead. Their organs have rotted away. Their blood has dried up, and their soul has slipped out of their body. And yet, they continue walking and talking. This is walking corpse syndrome, formerly known as Cotard's syndrome, a rare haunting disorder where the living become convinced that they are dead. We'll explore the first known case, the long disturbing history, real stories of those who believe they're already gone, and the chilling imagery that comes with a mind convinced its body has already turned to dust. 1880, France. Imagine the scene, if you will. A dim hospital ward that smells of antiseptic and mildew. Wooden floors, oil lamps flickering. A woman, thin, pale, eyes sunken deep into her skull as she sits motionless on a wooden bed wrapped in blankets, gazing straight ahead as though she's staring into a void only she can see. Doctors call her Mademoiselle X. She claims she has no name. Not anymore. Dr. Jules Cotard enters the room. She turns her head toward him with the slow, creaking stiffness of a puppet. Her voice is dry, like dead leaves scraping against the stone. "I have no brain," she whispers. "My skull is empty. I scooped it clean." She lifts her hands, grayish, trembling. "The worms have eaten my intestines. My heart has stopped. I am dead." Cotard studies her. Her pulse is strong, her breathing steady, but her eyes, they're fixed far beyond him, as if staring through the veil of life itself. Her delusion grew so intense that she refused to eat food entirely. "Why eat?" she responded, "if you are already dead?" This would become a defining symptom of the syndrome. If you believe your organs are gone, why feed a corpse? Over time, she becomes skeletal, skin clinging to bone, cheeks collapsing inward, her breath slow and rattling like something trapped in her lungs, trying to crawl out. When they described this, I imagined the death rattle when people are passing and they have that just weird, shallow sound. One morning, the nurses find her slumped forward, still, unbreathing. Her case ended as tragically as you'd expect. She eventually starved, not because she lacked food, but because she lacked the belief she was alive enough to need it. Cotard had discovered something chilling, a psychological phenomenon that turns the living into the dead. She became the first recorded case of a disease that convinces the living they have already died. You might think Cotard syndrome began with her then, since she was the first case. But the dead have been walking far longer than that. I went and dug back, way back, for some old medical manuscripts describing people who wandered villages, claiming their flesh had gone black and that their bones were visible through their skin, and some begged to be buried even though they were still alive. Others dug shallow graves and lay down inside of them. Something I wonder when reading about this is that there was quite a bit of mental health issues and physical illnesses, for that matter. We're talking medieval times, that these thoughts could be referring to anything from the plague to a run-of-the-mill mental breakdown, or something as simple as lacking nutrients. The medieval and Middle Ages were an all-around very rough time in the world, but I digress, right? So let's go on to talk about more here. So the villagers believed these were revenants, humans caught between life and death, dragging their rotting bodies like chains. In 17th century religious texts, priests wrote of people who claimed their souls had escaped through their mouths as they slept. They woke convinced that they were empty shells, dead men forced to keep on moving. In other ancient folklore, there are myths of pale wanderers who approach strangers asking, "Can you see me? Am I still here?" These stories weren't supernatural, though. They were symptoms. Another piece of mythology I came across was in the Taoist belief, referred to as the three corpses, or the three worms. They are malevolent, parasitic spirits in Taoist belief that reside inside the human body from birth, located in the head, the chest, and the abdomen. They seek to hasten a person's death by causing illnesses, bad habits, or immoral thoughts, eventually becoming malevolent ghosts after the host dies. So you have the upper corpse, resides in the head, causing weakening of the eyes, wrinkled skin, white hair, and headaches. The middle corpse lives in the torso, heart, and is responsible for organ damage, bad dreams, and overeating. And the lower corpse dwells in the abdomen, causing loss of willpower and shortened lifespan. Now, all these things, at least for me, I was like, oh no, I have all of these things. I have the white hair, the headaches, the wrinkled skin, right? You're kind of like, these are just things. I'm like, these. So I think a lot of older cultures kind of created this to explain what's happening before medicine and things. Now, I say all of that to say there's a good chance that Cotard syndrome actually existed long before anyone had a name for it. And to understand this syndrome, you must enter a mind that believes its body is decomposing. People describe sensations that feel like decay in their mind. Their skin is tightening like old leather, a coldness spreading through their limbs like the chill of a morgue drawer, the sense that their organs are dissolving, turning into slush, which is a frightful thought, the smell of earth and rot, as if they are buried already, insects crawling under their skin, chewing, nesting. One man said he could feel juice, quote unquote, running out of him. Rotted body fluid he believed was seeping from invisible wounds. Another patient described looking at her hands and watching them shrink, prune, and darken in real time, like fruit that had been left out on the shelf to just die. Sometimes they stop speaking in the present tense. Not I am, but I was. Not my heart beats, but my heart used to beat. Some describe a constant coldness, a chill under the skin, a numbness they interpret as decay. Others smell things that aren't there: rotting flesh, dirt, cemetery flowers, which I thought was a strange thing when I read that, because that would probably mean like flowers that are very odoriferous, like roses, lilies, things like that. Lilacs, maybe. Their minds trying to rationalize sensations through the only lens that makes sense. To them, I must be dead. One man from a case report in the mid-1900s said he felt like his eyes were drying out like raisins. Another said his bones were clattered inside him when he walked. A woman described her own voice echoing in her skull as if it were coming from a coffin. This is what Cotard's does. It convinces the brain that the body is no longer alive. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally. Cotard syndrome is extremely rare, so rare that exact numbers are very difficult to measure. But here's what is generally known from case reviews and psychiatric literature. Only about 200 cases have been clearly documented in medical history, starting with Mademoiselle X. Modern estimates suggest it appears in well under 1% of psychiatric patients. And many psychiatrists will never see a case in their entire career. And when it does appear, it is often alongside severe depression or other kind of neurological conditions. In some cases, last weeks, and others linger for years. Unfortunately, sometimes end like the others did as well, in a tragic ending. Now think about that. Out of billions of people walking the earth, only a tiny fraction have ever slipped into this haunting belief that they have already died. It is one of the rarest delusional disorders ever recorded. A disorder so unique that even studying it feels like kind of peering into the mind of a ghost because they think that they're dead. And Cotard syndrome didn't disappear with old medical books and medieval history. Today, you can find cases just as disturbing, sometimes even more so. I came across some notes for a few cases, just to kind of barely glint across, a few modern cases. Now, in one modern case study from the early 2000s, a man walked into a hospital demanding a pathologist, and he believed his brain had rotted away. He insisted he had no thoughts, no blood, no life, even though he was having those thoughts of no blood, no life. But that's something that happened. And then when doctors scanned his brain, something surprising happened. His neurological activity resembled that of someone in a deep coma, yet he was wide awake. It was as though the brain had entered a state halfway between life and death. Another woman began spending every night among gravestones. She said the soft earth comforted her. I too like cemeteries, so it's not too crazy yet. But she would rest her head against cold stone markers and whisper, "I am one of you." Now, ladies, gents, and creeps, I do not do that. But again, there is something calming about a cemetery. But I digress. She insisted she could hear the dead welcoming her home. If the brain is the storyteller of your life, Cotard's is what happens when the narrator snaps. Like that show, Snapped, right? When the narrator literally just snaps. Something deep inside misfires. The identity, self-recognition, emotion, and this very sense of existing is just gone. When all these shut down or distort, the mind grabs for the only explanation that fits. You must be dead. Not dying, not ill, dead. Already gone. Here's the part that kind of chills me the most is people with Cotard syndrome don't usually run around screaming or panicking. They don't claw at their skin or wail that they're dead. They just become quiet, still, detached. It kind of like other, I'll say, psychological, conditions where sometimes that happens too. That's like catatonic, only they're able to talk. They move slowly, carefully, as if they're afraid their decaying limbs, might fall off. And they stare at their hands for long stretches of time, waiting to see if the skin darkens or cracks or peels. They talk in very flat, emotionless tones, as though their kind of vocal cords don't work anymore, or that they're frail, or that they might become frail. And they drift through hallways, if they're moving, down streets, through stores, kind of like these little shadows that are still wearing human clothing. It's very creepy. And the scariest thing is most people around them don't notice that anything is wrong. So you could pass somebody on the street that is having this idea, the thing that's happening to them, or having this psychosis, I'll call it. That might not be the right word, but a corpse can walk right past you, stand next to you in line, sit across from you on the bus, and you might never know that they believe that they're already gone, that they've already died. Walking corpse syndrome, or Cotard syndrome, is a haunting reminder that the boundary between life and death isn't a solid line. It's a flickering, kind of fragile thread, and sometimes the mind crosses it while the body keeps on moving. So tonight, as you settle into bed and you feel your pulse in your fingertips, or maybe you hear your pulse in your head, you see that your chest is rising and falling, the warmth in your limbs, just be grateful you can still feel alive. Because for some, the warmth has already faded, the heartbeat, they can't hear that anymore, and the mind is just whispers to them while they're saying, you're gone. And once your brain decides you're dead, there's no telling whether you'll ever convince it otherwise or be able to change its mind. Thanks for joining me for today's very interesting episode, I think. This might be one of my favorites to date, to be honest. It was one where I just couldn't stop researching extra goodies. So thank you very much for joining me. Please take a moment to leave a review if you would, and give a follow on whatever or of all of your social medias and whatever place that you like to digest Creepy Confidential podcast. Make sure you give a follow so that you don't miss an episode. Also, the Patreon offers some excellent exclusive content for our members, our Creep Nation members, including our dream screens and early releases for episodes and our YouTube episodes. So Creepy Reacts or the dream screens when they come out early, those are all a day early. And we also just want to make sure that you're having a good time. We don't want you to miss anything. So make sure you check those out. If you want any extra creepy content, you can also go to creepyconfidential.com. You'll see there's all kinds of goodies to digest over there. You can take a look at all of the past episodes, or who the After Dark episode might be coming up if we're having a guest on the show. So stay creepy, my friends, and I'll catch you next time right here on Creepy Confidential.